talking points, I'll just try to focus more on La Liga than just specifically Atletico. What else? In Turkey, has the earthquake calmed down a bit? Has everyone been rescued? Yeah, right. No, but I still see videos online where people get found and then it's like a big reaction with their family and stuff. By chance. Okay. Uh, hmm, okay. Okay. We'll go live. Let's play the. Oh, really?
Yep. I
Oh,
don't know if
no.
it's my internet connection that's bad or.
Oh, no. My internet connection is pretty good. And we're live, guys. So, yeah, hola Madridistas. We've had a really good result with the game against Liverpool. And right now, we're looking at the impending, really hard schedule ahead of us. And the first game that we're looking forward to, and the one that we're previewing right now, is the El Derbi. So, Farooq, how do you feel just from the game in midweek and just general thoughts as a Madridista?
Yeah, man. What a week to be a Madrid. Honestly, like I think that's that's I would say the best game I've seen in a while, and like the game that actually made me happy in a while. Honestly, like I'm not the most I'm not someone who's gonna jump out of my seat and what is on for a game, but I mean, in my own way, that was the best game I've seen in a while, and honestly, it was a victory to be proud of, honestly, because the way we played, we took the game to them, and scoring five unreplied goals. Like, I mean, it's no mean feat, honestly. Kudos to all of our players. Every single player on the pitch. Even I mean, Courtois had the the mistake and what is not, but he has so much credit in the bank. But every single player on the field actually put in the shift, and I can understand the nerves in the first 10, 15 minutes. But yeah, it's not how you start the game, but how you end it. That's much more important. And honestly, like kudos to the guys for standing up. In what they call, I don't know, the fortress of Anfield. So it's so we've seen a lot of giants being slayed and crumbling under the pressure there, but really it was. I mean, the point is having such a game at such an at such an avenue, it makes it even all the more merrier. Like it's. I mean, with all due respect, like this this is not Lazio at the Olimpico. This is not Napoli at the Maradona. Like this is Liverpool at Anfield, man. So it carries a whole different gravitas, to it honestly. So yeah, it was. And as I said, the way of the victory was. I just, honestly, that made my week. Like as I told you before, we said the week has been up and down, but honestly, like just whatever happens, I just go back, to watch some highlights from the game, and honestly, like Vini, just Vini. I mean, yeah, man, let me know, take too much of that as well. Yeah, it was a really good week.
Yeah, well, if Farouk says it was a really good game to watch, then it's like a really good game to watch because he is someone who really appreciates entertaining football, and that game was really entertaining, man. Gotta say. And like just to add on to what Farouk said, it wasn't just to like it wasn't just a good game. It was just the even watching the highlights after the game, like especially like watching Jamie Carragher's reaction post match and his
Yeah, I
reactions.
know, right?
Those are all like just feed it into my veins, like Yadu said.
I mean,
Those are all.
honestly, like those reactions were, like they were totally warranted, man. Honestly, like the point is, there's always been, a sense of arrogance around, honestly, like Liverpool players, just to name a few, like Robertson, be it Van Dijk, James Milner, and so on and so forth. There will always be a sense of arrogance around them, honestly. So it's, I mean, when you're winning, that sense of arrogance is being seen as, oh, it's a winning mentality, it's confidence, and this is that. But when you start to lose, then that arrogance starts to get a negative vibe to you, because we've been here, like people like Jamie Carragher are the ones who've lauded that arrogant characteristics of Liverpool side. They've lauded it and created it, and with all due respect, yeah, that's fine, because all winning teams, all champions, have that air of arrogance with them. You understand? But yeah, it was it was a high time, honestly. Like it has been long overdue, but it was nice that it came at our hands as well.
Yeah, and it was especially like really encouraging for me because we were missing maybe a couple of players that we usually used to seeing in the lineup, and still we managed to get like a really good job well done. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing actually. I can't remember who I was reading, but I was reading one of the the reports after the game, and the author of that article was actually saying that this okay, you can understand players like Karim Benzema, you can understand players like Luka Modric, you can understand these players because like players like Toni Kroos and what is not. But how can you explain Vinicius Júnior? How can you explain Camavinga? How can you explain Militao? Like these are players that came. They are not ingrained in this Real Madrid DNA. They joined the team 18 months ago, 24 months ago. How are they able to understand what this when the Champions League anthem plays, like they just go to a whole different level? Like how can you explain this? That continuity from from the era of the Zidanes, to Cristiano, to now the Vinis and the Camavingas and the Rodrigos. Like how do you explain that continuity? Like what kind of how I don't know. It's really it's just an enigma, honestly. Like you just there are some things that you just can't explain. You just have to see how, man, that's something, honestly. Like whatever Real Madrid does to their players for the Champions League, I mean, a lot of clubs needs to just employ researchers to research on that, and be able to implement it at their clubs as well. Really, it's amazing, honestly.
Of course, Farooq. And well, yeah, like if you want to hear more about like the Liverpool game, you must go and check out our post-match review with Javier and Doris and Sunair, of course. So yeah. Anyways, I feel like this is a good time to get back from the high pedestal of the Champions League and get back into La Liga. Well,
That's the thing, honestly. Like, I don't want to get out of that high, honestly, because as I've said numerous times, I feel like, the 8 point that Barcelona has, it's almost an honestly level lead, and especially now that they're out of the European competitions again. So, yeah, man, honestly, like, I just want to still ride that high, honestly. Like, I want to remain where I am, but as you said, it's true. Whether we like it or not, the fixtures are there. And especially when it comes to, a game such as a derby, like, irrespective of what the position in the league is or what is not, like, this is a matter of pride and prestige. Our honor is literally on the line in this game. So, it's a game that we need to show up for, honestly.
it's not just this game. We literally have to like win every single game in La Liga to like, win the title because that's just how competitive Barcelona are gonna be.
I mean, what do you want to bet? I mean, I can bet something that we can win all our games and still we wouldn't win the league. I mean, that's how, honestly, that's how pessimistic I am about this, about the title. Honestly, to be honest, but you're right. I feel like if we can win all our games, obviously, I think by winning all our games, there's a very, very high chance, that we will win the league. But the point is, can you win all your games? I mean, the thing is, we will go to Anfield and score five. And if this game wasn't the Derby, if it was, let's say, against I don't know, let's not say Elche because Elche has been with that. But if this game was against Osasuna or Valladolid, Osasuna has been flying a bit high as well. But let's say if this game was against the teams like Valladolid, the teams who are just above the relegation zone, we would most likely go and be unable to score. After you've literally scored 5 at Anfield, you will literally go to Valladolid and be unable to score. But we're lucky that it's a game against Atletico Madrid, and I've said this before, honestly, like when we always have this kind of run-ins, I feel a bit more relaxed. Because if there's any team, it's the big games that we know how to play. We literally don't know how to play, the small games, but the big games, obviously, like not to sound cocky or anything. But I mean, if you could recall, there was a period last year as well where we were playing Sevilla, Inter. I can't remember, Atletico as well. I can't remember exactly what the fixture line was, but we won all the games, all of them. But when you have a run-in, when you're expecting to get maximum points, then you have a draw, you lose, you can score goals. These are the things. But honestly, I feel really confident going into these games. But yeah, let's see how it goes, man.
Of course, man, Farooq, like we all as Real Madrid fans share the same sentiment because we know that Real Madrid perform the highest level when they're put against the wall and when the situation really matters. But then, like I was just looking at a Barca Bloglares, which is a Barcelona blog, and even they were sharing the same sentiment. They were like, "Oh, like we are able to play attacking football against Man United or in these big games, the teams come out to attack us. But when it comes to La Liga, like it's 11 men against like sitting behind the ball, and it's always the same thing. And even Barcelona, even with how good they are at grinding out victories this season, they find it hard to, really outperform like these La Liga teams who have low blocks set up. So, well, yeah, like just getting into the
Actually,
Atletico.
can I say something? It's gonna be deviate against from what you're saying, but because you just said this and actually came to mind immediately after the Liverpool game. Do you see how good Vinícius Júnior was against Liverpool? Can you tell me, like, I don't know if you noticed, but let me just ask you, did you notice anything about the game with Vini? Can you tell me what didn't happen in the game,
Yeah,
like
it's
with
like,
Vinícius Júnior?
of course, in La Liga, we see like three, four defenders ganging up against Vinicius. So La Liga teams have figured it out. Like, you just stop Vinicius, you basically stop our whole attack.
No, forget about that. Forget about that. What I actually saw in this game was the fact that Vini wasn't fighting with anyone. No one was fighting Vini. Vini wasn't fighting anyone. I don't care. Gang up 5 players against Vini. That's cool. Like, that's your defending. But the point is, don't. They were taunting him. He's taunting them. But in this game, it was just pure football. It was just pure football. Honestly, like that's the thing I loved the most about this game. And after that, I remember we were gonna play Atletico, and I just remember that even the fans of Atletico are even not even the players themselves. The fans are saying this, and then you have the captain saying that, and then you go on the pitch and you see like it's literally UFC, not even boxing, it's UFC, man. Honestly, like let the guy play. You know, let them just let the guy play, honestly. Like you could see that in the game against Liverpool, there was just football and nothing else. There was no fighting, there was no talking back, there was no racist chants, there was nothing. Just pure football. But the thing in La Liga, we would never see this. And the point is, okay, I also was actually of that opinion as well. Like, players in La Liga are starting to come out and be like, okay, why is it always Vinicius? Why isn't it Rodrigo? Why isn't it Benzema? Why isn't it Camavinga? Why is it always Vinicius? If that's the case, then there is an issue with Vinicius. But after watching the game against Liverpool, and then I noticed that Trent, Gomez, Henderson, they were just there to defend Vini. You know, they did maybe because they didn't speak the same language. I don't know if that's the case, but they were just there to defend Vini. They didn't really care about kicking or shooting because there wasn't any malicious kick in the game. There was nothing. Liverpool, conceded 5 goals, but I can't remember any malicious kick in the game. There was no ill intent foul in the game. It was just a clean game. There was no talking back. There was nothing. Let the boy play, and the boy will win the Ballon d'Or, man. But when there is always, fight, talking back, going back and forth, pushing up and down. But that's the thing, man. I've said this before, and I will say this again. Real Madrid as a club, as an organization, La Liga as an organization, they need to do more to protect Vinicius Junior. This is just it. I'm not asking them to protect him from, the fouls and no. I'm asking them to talk about players targeting him, speaking to him, fans chanting racist things against him. They need to, find a way to curb this because otherwise, I mean, we're just gonna lose, the fun we have watching Vini because in the game at Danfield, man, Vini for Ballon d'Or all the way. Kylian, what's his name? We don't even. I mean, honestly, that's the thing, man. But yeah, man, do your thing, man. Sorry for you deviating from that.
Oh, well, that's a good point. Like, it's one thing having like the attention of all the players directed against you, them having taunting chants. But then, if it's the whole stadium chanting against you, like racist chants, then that's like really distracting for you. Like, and I feel like that's a major contributor to Vinny getting distracted in every game. But even if he like does produce like two or three really exciting moments, even against those low blocks, like it's these small things that Vinny gets distracted against us, and
Yeah.
it just spirals out from there. Well, I feel like okay. I guess we can talk about Atletico finally now.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I mean,
Unfortunately,
I don't know, man. The point is, we come from, as you just said right now. You also spoke about, the Barcelona thing as well. You come from playing such an open, expansive football, and you're literally gonna go to the anti-football right now. You're just gonna go because obviously Atletico is coming to the Bernabeu, so we know to expect, a low block as well. And honestly, like Atletico's form this year hasn't been so, hasn't been that sparkling. So yeah, it's just it's one of those games where we just have to wait and see how it pans out, man.
well, to be fair, like they've had some pretty uh, outgoing moments against us whenever they played against us. But usually when they're facing La Liga teams, like teams, even like teams from the bottom half of the table, they still employ their low block, which is just something I would say. But anyways, it seems to be working for them. Like they're still fourth in La Liga. I guess the gap to Real Sociedad, if they win this game, is just 2 points. So they're not doing as bad as we think. Especially like we were all thinking, hey, Atletico are done for the season, coming from the first half of the season, where they had a really bad few set of games in, and they couldn't really get any sort of consistency going. So, I mean, yeah, they're coming back into form. Does that worry you, Farouk?
A bit. I think this season is gone, but one thing I would say is that I'm just actually looking at the scores, the games from Atletico in the past, and I'm seeing that they've just scored one goal, in the last five La Liga games, and then they won, three of that, drawn one, and lost just one. And even the loss against Real Madrid, which is, it was a loss against us. So it's kind of interesting, to see that because you see, this is Atletico of the past. This was the Simeone team where they could, just grind out a 1-0 victory one way or another. Whether whether they're playing well or they're playing bad. They could just always get that one goal and just get through it. But honestly, like I think we need to get Atletico back as well because it's getting too predictable, honestly. So Atletico wouldn't worry me because I mean Atleti at their pump, they went to two Champions League finals, and we know. I think Atleti at their pump, went out of the Champions League three times consecutively, and all of them we eliminated them. So I mean, not to be arrogant, but all I sound anything, but it's Atleti, man. I mean, obviously they're gonna give you a lot of headache. I mean, who's gonna forget the 2014 or the 2016 Champions League final? No one is gonna forget that anytime soon. Like they're gonna be, a pain in the ass, but it's just like you have your younger brother. Like it's just gonna be he's your younger brother. He's gonna be troubled, but he's not, that to the extent that will make you actually, panic or something. But he's just gonna be always, a troublesome person. But yeah, honestly, like we need Athletic to be back to, to actually compete. But I think when it comes to Real Madrid, as a Real Madrid fan, at least for as long as I have known, like I haven't felt, too worried about Atletico Madrid. Honestly, because that's just the team.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, even when Atletico are at their worst, we know they have a certain level of performance that they put against us, especially. But it's always like in the last few, like maybe a few, maybe 6, 7 games that we faced against them so far. We've always managed to like put a really good game against them. We've always managed to have our
Yeah.
players out in form. So we shouldn't be really worried.
Exactly, man. As I said, also I'm looking here. Like in the last five games, we've won three of them, and Atleti have won one. So yeah, and we've also drawn one of them. So yeah, as I said, like I will feel confident going this game, especially on the back of the, as I said, like their form, which is not utmostly impressive. Although, like as you said, also like they're gradually crawling back to the top of the table. But yeah, we just have to look out for what's going to happen because we know it's going to be a low block. It's just going to be counter-attacking football at its best. So just have to look out for that. So, and I know we're going to concede the customary one goal there, but we just need to make sure that our players like Vinícius Júnior have their shooting boots on because as we know, Vini can have 5-6 chances in a game before he eventually buries one. So yeah, we need to just make sure that the little chances we get, we need to just bang them in.
Like, okay, just going off of that, Faru, were you like really surprised when Vinny actually got the ball in the net in the first half for the goal? Because
I
he,
was for sure, definitely. I was, man. Honestly, I was. But I mean, that's the thing. Honestly, I really was because if you could recall, it was against the run of play, and literally he was in the market. Like how he even saw that, it's testament to how much Vinicius Junior has grown. Honestly, like this kind of moments actually, just sort of defies. It shows you how much Vinicius Junior. Because even I mean, he has grown. Even last year he was good, but I think this year, I think honestly, he's shifted a gear even compared to last year, at least in my opinion, because at least now we can see him, constantly, even when you have three defenders, four defenders, as we saw, as you just said right now. I think there were 3, 4 defenders around him, and he still found a way, to find the far corner. So I personally, I was surprised, honestly, I was. But yeah, man, that's what we need, man. We need the X factors there.
exactly. All right, and like, but to your other point about Atletico and their low block, I just wanted to touch this point. Like, it's not really an Atletico question, but it's probably more of like a football question for you. Uh, are coaches like Simeone still like really relevant in today's game, where they employ a low block, where defense wins titles, and you just don't have to have like a really attacking game scheme to really go out and win titles?
Wow, that's a question. So the point now becomes this actually, Jacob. It's always about winning. The thing is that no matter how much I say I am a proponent of good football, I want to watch fancy, expansive football there here and there. You understand? Eventually, it comes down to one thing. It's about winning. You know. So the point now becomes this: if after what point do you say, okay, enough is enough? Like we've played so much negative football and we're not still winning. You understand? So you said, okay, since we're playing this and we're not winning, then there is no point. But if you can justify the ends to the means, if the means justifies the ends, I think it's fine. And I think for once upon a time, a coach like Simeone could, justify that. But at this point in time, when he has this much investment in the team, when he's invested so much, because whether they like it or not, Atleti has invested a lot in the team, a lot, at least compared to other teams in La Liga. You know, they've invested a lot, so it still shouldn't be like the way that you spend this much money and you still go and on the low block against teams like Valladolid. You score one and then you go and defend for the remaining of the 70 minutes. At the wonder for that matter, not even away from home. So I feel like it's not about that anymore. But if you ask me now, for example, I mean, what I don't know which team I can actually. For example, let's look at the table of in Spain. For example, you can see I know teams like Real Betis or Rayo, for example. Although I know they play expansive football, these guys, both of them, I would say like a team like Rayo, for example, I would totally understand why they would choose to play a low block. You understand why they would choose to play an ultra defensive football because obviously, as the saying always go, defense wins you these titles. You understand? So by the defense, they will have a way to bypass certain limitations. But then one thing we always see about about coaches and managers who are so I don't know the word to use there, but I just for example, let me give an example of Pep during his Barcelona days as well. Pep during his Barcelona days, like they always had the highest number of clean sheets in the league, but they played also the most expansive style of football. So the best form of defense is attack. That's just it. I mean, for example, we could see even with Marcelo, he was so good attacking wise that no one dared to, attack his wing. Because you know that if you attack his wing, any turnover, it's a chance for Real Madrid. You understand, right? So let's even go to the case of, for example, Trent as well. Trent is also only being exposed because his midfielders and his defenders don't do their job anymore. You get the point. So, in my opinion, like, would Simeone be the coach I would employ if I have a team? No. I mean, it's not even a most likely. 100% no. But the point is, would I understand and respect what coaches like Simeone bring to the table? 100% definitely. You understand? Because as I said, like it's. I mean, let's not forget what Simeone has, done for these guys, And to be honest, like even I'm trying to. It's difficult to find, a lot of parallels with Simeone right now, but I am sure, that there are still young coaches who will come up, and still play the style that Simeone has played and still also achieve similar success. Because once upon a time they will also, say about Mourinho the same thing. People will talk about Antonio Conte in the same way. You understand? And they've all shown that this system works. First you build a foundation for your defense, and based on your defense, you build upon it for the offense. You understand? So that's something. But right now, I feel like Diego Simeone and in Atleti are caught you know, in two worlds. Are they going to defend? Are they going to attack? Players like the Diego Godins, the what's it called, the Felipe Luises, those
Stepan
the
Savic's.
Koke, the Koke of the past. I think Savic wasn't part of that, that original team actually. He joined later. Those one France, the one France, like they're no longer there anymore. Like those were like old school defenders. Obviously Savic also joined, and also he's also an old school defender as well himself. You know, but right now they're no longer. Honestly, they're even their stock has fallen so much. I mean, not fallen, but faded rather would be the word. Because right now, you look at defenders, and people come to you and talk to you about, oh, Van Dijk, he can ping the ball 70 yards. Oh, it's Militao or Rudiger, they can bring the ball out of the defense. Like, they're good defenders, but they're relatively good defenders. When you go back to the past 5 years, 6 years, what the likes of, as I said, that what the likes of, the Felipe Luis were doing, what the one France were doing, the Carles Puyos, what they were doing, the Pepes, what they were doing. Like, when you compare it to what the defenders of now they do, they lack a lot defensively. You understand? But when you check about the gameplay, honestly, there's an improvement there, because right now the way football is going, like it's becoming more of a game of athletes rather than a game of intelligence. That's why players like Toni Kroos and Luka Modric, like they're premiums nowadays. The players you can find that, I mean, with all due respect, Camavinga, Fede Valverde, where it's aggression first and then brains later. That's the thing. That's the way football is going right now. So, yeah, I don't know if that answered your question. It was just all here and there, but
Well, it did certainly answer a lot of questions, but then the slander about Kamavinga and Valverde, I don't know if I can digest that.
I mean,
Uh,
it's not slander, honestly, because when you check, even when you look at a player like Gavi, for example, it's all aggression first and then brains later as well. But when you look
exactly.
at a player, that's something. But when you look at other players such as, for example, Dani Ceballos, like he's a player, who is, I don't know, he's poetry in motion when he gets going. But the problem is that he's been difficult to get going for a past couple of years. But hopefully, we hope that this is the big break he's looking for.
Exactly. Like we all have really high hopes for him, especially like he has been able to replicate his Real Betis form, not just with his attacking play, but with his pressing as well, which is so important to today's game. But anyways, like just to your point about teams and coaches like Simeone not having a place in today's modern football, like do you see Simeone lasting for at least a few more years in Atletico, or are they gonna look for a new direction moving forward?
I personally want him to stay because I feel like we have lost a lot of star power in La Liga. So like I think right now, with all due respect to Carlo Ancelotti and and Xavi, I think Simeone is a much more. I think he is the MVP. I mean, not MVP, but I would say he's the rock star of the coaches.
The most marketable coach in La Liga.
Exactly, the most marketable coach. Exactly. Thank you. That was it. That was what I was looking for. He's the most marketable coach in La Liga right now. You understand? So I really want him to stay there. But on the other hand, Inter Milan are literally faltering with Inzaghi in charge. And as we know, Inter is also a club that is very dear to Simeone's heart as well. So I wouldn't. And I feel like Simeone's style will also be very suitable for Serie A as well. But then I mean, Napoli this year has literally broke every single stereotype you know about Serie A, every single one. Because
Yeah.
even Mourinho's treble-winning team weren't this fluid, you know. I mean, obviously we know Juventus were never that fluid, you know. But even Mourinho's treble-winning team weren't this fluid. You need to go back to Ancelotti's Milan to think of a team that is as fluid as Napoli is right now, honestly. Like this team has broken literally every single thing you think about Serie A. This team has broken that myth and legend. I really wish Simeone stays, but I can also understand that, you know, I think he came in 2008 or 2009. I'm not sure. You know, it's been a very long time there, so you know, it might be tiring, honestly. So I can really understand like if he wants a change of scenery, change of environment. But I would really, you know, love Simeone to stay back. But honestly, I don't see that much. I think 1 2 years and he's gone.
Especially with the squad that he's got, it's not just like you mentioned before. It's not just defend and then it's not all mediocre players up front. So it's like if they do get a good coach who plays attacking football, they can still make it in La Liga and maybe even in Europe. Which we That's like a strange thing, right? We always expect to see Atletico in the Champions League, like deep into the Champions League. We saw it like last year, but what do you think happened this year?
I think that's the thing. Like you know, as I said, like you know, it's just they were caught in that. I don't know, in the both of two worlds. You know, like as they say, you can't eat your cake and have it as well. You know, and also let's not forget, like with all due respect, injuries played a lot. I think there was a time when both Savage and Jose Maria Jimenez were out for I think for like 6 weeks, something like that, and they
Even
had to be
Koke,
playing the likes of, you know, exactly, and they had to be playing, you know, Mandawa and Kondobia as their centre backs. You know, honestly, and also the drop off in form of Jan Oblak has been outstanding. You know, it's been crazy how much he's dropped off. Honestly, you know, I mean, he's still a very good goalkeeper, but he was a goalkeeper where you literally knew you know, even if it was an empty net, he could still fly out of somewhere and save the ball. You know, that's how good he was. You know, but honestly, like he has dropped back to the human level. You know, and it's expected. You know, like you can't remain superhuman forever and ever. So you know, that's you also have to pinpoint those things as well. You know, injuries plays their part, and yeah. Also, one thing also we also have to mention is although Saul has been there for a while, like the drop off of Saul also has been tremendous and it's affected them a lot. You know, it's affected them a lot. You know, there are just a lot of numbers that are there, but that's why I feel like, you know, Simeone might just want to call it a day because honestly, like, I think this is the first time that he actually has to do a total review. Okay, not a total review, but a major review. You know, because as rightly pointed out, you know, while easing out the likes of, you know, Godin, you know, they were bringing the likes of, you know, Savage, Jose Maria Jimenez. Like it was a gradual thing, you know, it was a gradual process. Like, but right now when you just look at it, it's like the team is totally, you know, out of it. You know, you have to replace Saul, you have to, you know, find a replacement for Savage, you have to look for fullbacks. You know, Trippier is gone, you have to find fullbacks. You know, you have to find midfielders, you have to find someone to replace, or someone who will be rather the next Joao Felix or someone to replace Joao Felix. And so it's a lot of positions that you have to plug in. It's a lot to ask honestly, but I think Simeone can do it. But it's just about, you know, will the motivation still be as high, you know, as the first time around.
exactly. After it's been what, 18 years now? So if he joined in 2008, that would be 18 years, I would believe, or more than that, or less than that.
No, no,
Anyways,
it's
it,
less than that. It's around
yeah,
15.
15, 16 years maybe. It's
Yeah,
still a long time, and then it's so weird that Simeone has stayed on for so long, and then he has been still so motivated. It's just a testament to what sort of a character he is.
exactly, exactly. Actually, he joined in 2011. Actually, sorry, my bad.
Uh,
I was checking right now. He joined in
oh,
2011.
just
So that's
yeah,
that's not been much then.
yeah, but still, like
That's not
it's
much.
he has led the Atletico resurgence of the last decade, I guess. Before Simeone, there was
Definitely,
nothing.
definitely. Before exactly, man. Before Simeone, like it was all gone, man. Before Simeone, it was all gone. Like I think yeah. Here it says he joined in the 11-12 season. So I think before that he was all gone, man. There was nothing. There was nothing. What he That's why I said what he's done, you know, is outrageous, man. I mean, he came to the Bernabeu and he won the cup, man. I don't know if you could remember, but like he won the cup where they got Ronaldo got red card. I think it was Mourinho's last match actually.
Exactly.
It was Mourinho's last season. Even if it wasn't his last match, but it was Mourinho's last season. and we lost the final, at the Bernabeu against Atletico, and Simeone. I mean, Simeone will never get enough flowers for what he has done, at Atletico, and rightfully so. I think I heard that he was the highest paid coach in the world, and I think he deserves that, honestly. Because like I said earlier, he's the MVP of this club, honestly. Like he's the MVP of the club, and I think he's a superstar of La Liga when it comes to coaches as well. So, he has all the credits in the bank. But every good thing has to come to an end. I hope it's not the end, but I will totally understand if it is.
Yeah, it would really be a surprise if this is Simeone's last season. Like even if Atletico doesn't get a good result in La Liga, like let's say, okay, I'll propose this scenario to you. What if they like finish in the Europa League places instead of the Champions League? Do you think Simeone gets a sack?
I think it's catastrophic for Diego Simeone and Atletico. I don't think that happens. I
Yeah.
personally don't see it happening, but I think it's catastrophic because the point is, Diego Simeone and Atletico Madrid are so reliant on that money that comes from the Champions League. So I think it's going to be catastrophic for them. But the point is, one thing they've shown us is that they know how to win European competitions. They know how to play European competition, be it La Liga, be it be it the Champions League or be it the Europa League. I think they won the Europa League recently as well, Simeone. So that's the thing. Like, so I don't know. He might just see that as an opportunity to win another trophy as well. So you never can tell. So but I said it's just all depends on what he thinks, and but I don't think he gets the sack. Honestly, I don't think because the point is whether you like it or not. That's why fans have to be careful. The devil is always better than the angel. You might try to bring in a coach to play progressive football, and you see that, oh wow, Simeone was actually doing magic. So it's not just easy, honestly. So you always have to be careful about what you wish for as well. So that's why it's not just easy to change that, and especially when the players have been wire hard, for a very long period of time to be playing in such a style of play and just bring in a coach. So it's gonna take a bit of time also to make that to complete that transition as well. So yeah, man, it's as I said, man, it's a 50-50 thing. Honestly, I can't that, but I think Europa League is going to be catastrophic for them because that means they most likely will have to sell some players that they would normally not want to sell.
Exactly. Like also like even if they do finish in the Europa League, which I think, like you said, is really unlikely. I have a whole new respect for the Europa League, man. Especially after Barcelona's shenanigans. Like how the fuck did Sevilla win all of those Europa Leagues? How did Atletico win all of those Europa Leagues?
I mean, honestly, like I was seeing that I think Barca has won one in 15 games in the in Europe against the top five leagues or something like that, and I'm like, how is that even possible? Do you know who are those? Do you know those guys who were in Barcelona's groups? I mean,
Diemo
it's
Kine,
actually
yeah,
outrageous, man. It's the Benficas, the Dynamo Kievs, man. I
yeah,
mean, with all due respect, Kiev is coming from a war-torn Ukraine, man, and Barca still couldn't get points against those guys. I mean, God, man, really, it's. I don't know, man. It's just the thing is that you see this, and actually you come to honestly, like it puts a lot. It puts into perspective, what Real Madrid does, honestly, like especially in Europe, it puts really into perspective because the point is we just know how to show up for these games. We I will always say this, like we are not the most fanciful team, you know, but we know how to stay in these games. We know how to show up in these games. But I don't know, like you see teams like Barcelona, you see teams like Paris. I mean to some extent even Bayern Munich as well. You see the Man Cities and the Liverpools, and I mean it's just a testament to what Real Madrid does, honestly. Like Barca are just shambolic. I mean, they're a shame in Europe, man. Honestly, they're a shame, total shame, man. And they're gonna be the reasons why pundits are just gonna wake up and be like, oh yeah, those guys are just Premier League is the king and this and that and this and that. I mean, honestly, but credit where it's due. United and Ten Hag are on the roll right now. Honestly, no credit where I think maybe just Dortmund and Napoli might be the better form teams in Europe right now. Other than that, I mean, United and Rashford, Ten Hag, credits, man. Hats off to them. Like, big on the road, honestly.
exactly. Like, at the very least, like us as Real Madrid fans, we are so blessed that we can never expect an embarrassment in Europe because the team always shows up. That cannot be said for any other
I
team.
mean, Ajax came and destroyed you, man. So it happens from time to time.
Just time to time. That's the key. Okay. Okay. I guess.
Do we have anything in the chat by the way before we move on? So
Yeah. Sunaid just mentioned that Barcelona was missing important players. But that's the same thing, right? I was also mentioning earlier, like we were in, like maybe missing a couple of players from the starting 11. Barcelona were maybe missing like three players. Like, do you think like Real Madrid would have like such an embarrassment in Europa League if we were playing instead of Barcelona?
it's a shout to call that Barcelona missing important players, but the point is Barcelona played with Pedri, Gavi in the first leg, right?
Yeah.
And they were lucky to not lose. Obviously, someone will say, okay, Barcelona should have gotten a penalty, but I felt it was a very soft penalty. Now, I'm talking about the first leg, right? And then
Yep.
Pedri got injured and Gavi, I think, got suspended for a second leg, if I'm not mistaken. So Frankie de Jong comes into the middle of the park, man. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, we are going to Anfield without Toni Kroos and Tchouameni, no Ferland Mendy as well. So it is what it is, honestly. So uh, I actually think Real Madrid reacts in a different way because the point is we've seen Barcelona in the past 2-3 seasons show us that even with 11 field players they still can't do it. I mean, hell, we've seen Barcelona with arguably the greatest player of all time show that still we can't do it.
Yeah.
So it's not about missing player or lack thereof. It's just about that mentality. It's not there. That's just it.
Yeah. That's exactly what Sunil is saying as well. Like it's just the mentality that's the difference. So anyways, like speaking about mentality,
But
like
actually, I think one thing about this. Sorry for that. I think
yeah.
also about the mentality is I think for Real Madrid, I think we're just the players are being told like it's okay to win. It doesn't matter how you win. But I think for Barcelona, like you have to win in a certain style, otherwise you don't win.
Really, like, do you think that's still valid in the Xavi era? Like, we've seen a lot of games where they just edged out victories with counter-attacking football, and then they
I
basically
mean,
just
obviously,
sat
like
back.
the Xavi situation now is just a small sample size. Like we can't obviously base everything based on that. But I feel like generally across the past 5, 6, 7 years, at least what I can say might be that because the point is when you have the Xavi, Iniesta, Sergio B, Pedro, David Villa, and all those guys, these are guys who were like born for this system. These guys were like imbued in this system. They understand the system to the T. But then when you now shift away from that, and you have different players who have different education, you understand, different football education. I mean, for example, we saw with what's it called, with Ernesto Valverde as well. He won 2 leagues, but he got the sack as well because apparently he wasn't winning enough. Obviously, there are the embarrassments in Europe as well, but I feel like that idea of that you have to win in a certain style also, over the years has also affected, the way that Barcelona try to do things and because the point is, I feel like a team like us, when we go 1-0 up against what's it called, against United yesterday, I think it would have been difficult for United to come back. Even though it was at Old
There's
I
no
think it would have
question.
been very difficult.
Man, we're never losing against this version of Man United. Even at their top form, we just have like the better mentality.
I mean, the point is, right now we are quite good as well. So I will still, back us against this current team.
Exactly.
I mean, the point is, it is what it is, man. It's Europa League, so it means that both of them aren't at the peak of their game. So that's why they.
Heck yeah. So yeah,
But I do pray that I am not alive to watch us play in the Europa League.
yeah. I don't think we as Real Madrid fans will ever see that in our lifetime.
I
We just
mean, I don't wanna get too cocky, but I pray I'm not alive to see that, man.
fair enough. Okay, well, just to get back into the Atletico game, like I said before, Koke has been returned to the starting 11, and so Atletico are on an upward tick of form. But still, like they still have these, I would say, experienced players still in their lineup who are really susceptible. Like we always expect Atletico to be really solid at the back, right? And get those clean sheets. But the fact is that they just haven't been able to do that. Even if they have like two banks of four against like most La Liga teams, they just haven't been able to keep a clean sheet. And I feel like one argument by some Atletico fans is that you play players like Axel Witsel in your defense, so he isn't really that fast. He never has been,
Yep. Yep.
especially with age and those sort of things. But we've seen with again in the Champions League, like the longevity of players like Benzema and Luka Modric. Like, do you think this sort of age is like sustainable for top teams for having players?
I mean, the point is, if you want to talk about Axel Witsel not being suitable for that, first thing you have to know that Axel Witsel is not a defender, right? He's a midfielder. So, him being shown that it also goes back to the initial discussion we had about, the lack of personnel that Diego Simeone currently, faces. Well, I mean, we can talk about age about that much because we saw in the game against Bayern Munich, like Sergio Ramos, I think he's 35, 36.
Yeah.
He was the best Paris Saint-Germain. I mean, if not for him, like, God knows what would have happened in that game. We're going to go to England and at Chelsea, we talk about Thiago Silva, he's 38 years old. I mean, Chelsea are conceding goals left, right, and center, and Thiago Silva is the best player. So imagine if a defender is your best player and you're conceding goals left, right, and center, how good must he be? You understand? So it's not just about that. And Thiago Silva is not fast. He has never been the fastest.
Yeah.
The point is just, like trying to fit round pegs, in square holes. And back to the, the issue, the statement you're making with about, players like Luka Modric and Karim Benzema, being so far ahead in the age, I think the point is sometimes we're a bit spoiled and, we take things for granted. But honest to God, like, there are going to be very few players who are going to be operating on that level at that age. Honest to God. Like, there are players you can name on just, maybe two fingers or so. Because you would eventually see, like, players will deteriorate, The point is, we can look at players like even Fabinho. Like, Fabinho was touted as a world-class player, just 18 months ago. 18 months later, like, Fabinho is literally... I mean, even we had Greece say this. He was a Liverpool supporter, and he said, like, it's obvious for the past 6 months, even before the season started. The end of last season, you could see how much Fabinho had declined,
Yeah.
It's there to see, you look at players like Jordan Henderson, like, they decline, as the time goes. So I think it's just we take some of these things for granted, but we are looking at special players here, like, honestly, like with players like Luka Modric, Karim Benzema, be it Ramos, be it Thiago Silva, like these are generational talents, man. We're looking at exceptional players. So I think it's just not about that. But also, one thing you have to think is that modern medicine has been advanced so much that some players just even come into their primes at 30, for example.
Yeah.
So you have to give credit to that as well. But I think the whole Witsel situation, I think it's just about fitting square pegs in round holes. I think Witsel is not even a natural defender in the first place. So whether you like it or not, he's gonna suffer with the transition to that, especially when he's not being surrounded by a lot of confidence. I mean, when you're winning 5 games, 10 games in a row, you can easily slot a midfielder into defense or vice versa. You understand? It's easy to just flow with that because you're in form. The morale is high, so everyone is just thinking they're invisible and untouchable. So it's easy to bet into this. But when it's a crisis situation and you're just fitting square pegs in round holes, well, yeah, I think it's just it's a losing battle.
Yeah, like especially for the team like Atletico because they don't play out from the back like mostly. Like if you look at their passing map, especially, like you find that the defenders they don't pass amongst themselves at all, and they don't pass to the midfield at all. It's all like high balls to over to the wings. So having a player like Witzel, like it's a luxury that they don't need, and they just need an out and out defender at their role. But yeah, like you said, Atletico are out of options, especially since Stefan Savic was sent off against in the game against Getafe, so they're going to be missing him big time, and they're really short of defenders. But like like the other interesting thing to note is like they do have young players coming up as well. So Barrios, like if you remember, is like a really exciting talent coming up. Have you had chance to watch him play?
Nah, I'm not really that. Honestly, I'm not really that La Liga savvy person, so I wouldn't be able to, give you a lot of. I mean, barring our games and occasional games where you're just literally have nothing to do in the world except for, watch shitty La Liga games with all due respect to La Liga. But yeah, I'm not like a La Liga savvy person, honestly, so I wouldn't be able to give comment on that.
I would say like just watching from Barrios play, like he's a really composed player for his age, especially. Like you would expect that from someone who's maybe 24, 25, but Barrios, he seems to have that sort of composure that comes with age, and it's just been a the bright spot of the season, I would say, for Atletico to have that sort of players coming into form, especially at this age. But apart from that, I would say like things are not looking up so far this season. Their attack hasn't really been firing. And just to point that out, like, do you feel like losing Joao Felix at the midway point of the season was like a bad hit to them?
I mean, Joao Felix's impact, is debatable. Honestly, you can't, you can't really say he was a. I mean, he was more of a miss than a hit. You understand? So I mean,
Yeah,
obviously there were patches. I think last year, and if I'm not mistaken, yeah, last year even in the run to the Champions League quarters, I think there were patches where you could, see uh, how good, Joao Felix is, especially even at the World Cup, you could see how good Felix was because I feel like Felix was the best player on the Portuguese team, at the World Cup. So you could see how good Felix was. But you could also see that there was, I mean, always and it was nothing hidden. I don't know why it was so, but Simeone was always asking more from him. He was always asking more from the team. Like in their press conference, he was like a Tom and Jerry kind of thing. So
yeah,
honestly, like I also obviously like Felix being on the pitch is a threat, like because honestly he's a wonderful player, so like he can make things happen out of the blue. But I think the return of Antoine Griezmann actually, right now he's no longer playing 60 minutes and he's no longer coming after the 60 minutes, and honestly he's also hit a bit of form as also. I think that he's now integral to the play, so I think that also negates the impact of Felix. So I feel that also eventually Felix left for for the loan for the loan thing. Yeah, and I think with Morata leading the line, if I'm not mistaken, Morata leads the line for
yeah,
Atletico. Yeah.
yep,
So with Morata leading the line, so I think they have that kind of tandem that they've always had with one big striker and Griezmann feeding off him. So I think that also reduces the impact of Joao Felix. It makes him become more of a winger or something like that, which I think isn't what fits him the best. He prefers to get that free role, which is what Griezmann is currently occupying. So I wouldn't I wouldn't be too disturbed about the lack of impact or like the diminishing impact of
definitely.
Joao Felix.
Yeah, to be fair, like I don't think Joao Felix is also coming back to Atletico because he seems like he's really happy at Chelsea. He had this comment about saying that Atletico fans don't really value me that much, but Chelsea fans, as soon as I came in, they had like a chant prepared for me.
I
So
mean,
yeah,
what's the man talking about, man? He's gone there. I don't think he's won a single game since he's been in England. And what is being happy about? I can't remember, but I don't think I know. I think he scored, but I don't think he's won a game because I know he got
exactly.
a red card, he got an assist, he got a goal, but I don't think he's won a game since. He's done everything but win a match. So what's he happy about? But
So
then
the
I just
like just to put it into context, the whole Chelsea team they've scored less than Karim Benzema after the World Cup.
and if I mean that's outrageous, man. Honestly, like it's and that's that goes to show the bias, man. Like everyone just comes, and I understand. I totally know that it's not the fault of the coach only, Graham Potter, but imagine if Potter wasn't English or British.
Yeah,
I mean, we know what happened to Arteta before he turned this around, man. Everyone was calling for Arteta's head. Every single person. So it just goes to show the bias there, honestly. So yeah, it is what it is, unfortunately.
all right. Well, I'm just looking through my points. So we did touch upon Griezmann's form. With Griezmann, like, do you think he can keep this uptick of form for the rest of the season? Because he seems to have figured out his role in this current Atletico team. And do you feel like he can carry this team towards greater heights, especially coming next season in Europe as well?
I definitely think so because the reason why I would say this to you is that Griezmann, irrespective of what has always happened at Barcelona, has always proven himself to be, a valuable player. But one thing we've always seen is that the spaces he's occupied at Barcelona was similar to the spaces to what Messi occupies. So eventually, when Messi left, he also left. You
Yeah,
understand? So that's why we never could be able to see. But whenever you watch France, you could argue that the best player, was Greasy. Obviously the stardust of Kylian Mbappe is always going to outshine everyone on the team, but the role of Griezmann is very important, and he's not afraid to get in, to get dirty as well and do the dirty work. So I think he's a player that that symbolizes Diego Simeone very much. He's someone that has the flair, someone that has the grit, will get in the mud, do the dirty work as well, and also he will be at the end of be able to create chances, and also will be a dangerous goal scorer himself. So yeah, I think I really am. I wouldn't use the word sure, but I wouldn't be surprised, if we see next year people talking about Antoine Griezmann as a top 10 player once again, because I believe that he's found a home. He's back home. The team that plays through him. This is his team. He has the freedom. Everything flows through him. So yeah, I think Griezmann is more than good.
exactly, man. The man is so talented, and it's just that, like you said, it's a shame that he and Messi coincided in the same era, and then he couldn't really express himself in a team that doesn't need to defend so much as Atletico, and he could have like really outshone his talents. But anyways, like I feel like we have to really talk about an old foe that we've faced before that we've almost brushed aside in the form of Memphis Depay. Do you
Oh! I swear I had totally forgot. I think he scored the last. He scored in the last game for Atleti, right?
He did,
I
yeah.
think he scored in the I think he scored in the game against the. Actually he didn't score that. He scored in the game before that.
The Celta one, yeah. He did scored against Celta. It was an
He
88.
scored it. Yeah, exactly. It was like almost the end of the game kind of goal, something like that. Yeah, wow. I totally forgotten about Memphis, man. Wow, 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 wow. Man, I don't
He's
even know what to
some
say to you, man. Honestly.
he's someone who had like big talks before, like facing the likes of Real Madrid, but we've always managed to shut him up. But I just want to like touch this point about us not having a backup striker, especially since we had Karim Benzema injured like at the start of the second half of the season, and we all of us fans were like calling out for like the signings of like Edin Dzeko or maybe even someone like Memphis Depay. So do you feel like Atletico are like gonna really benefit from someone like him?
I mean, definitely. I mean, for sure. I mean, if as long as because the point is, Memphis is someone who is always thought he's always bigger than he is actually. Because I think, as you just rightly said, like he has a big mouth if that's the right word to use. But I think Diego Simeone is a coach that will be able to keep him grounded. And honestly, I think his contributions, as a rotational option, or even when the time comes, as the starting choice in the center forward position, he's going to bring a lot to Atletico Madrid. And honestly, he gives a bit of something different to what Morata gives. So I think it's a very very good piece of business from Atletico. Honestly, very very good piece of business. And I think honestly, like, this season is mostly gone. You understand? But I think
Yeah.
if Simeone stays, getting in a couple of players here and there, having a good preseason, I think next season should be much more interesting to watch for you. Because when you look at it, like when you see players like Memphis, Morata, and you see Griezmann getting back, RDP also back to form after the World Cup, and players like Molina and so on and so forth. When you have a fit Savi team, we can get Jose Maria Jimenez also, uh, back, fit and all that. So I think it's gonna be a really, really, interesting team to watch next season. So I think it's gonna grow to look back like the previous Athletics. Okay, obviously it's gonna be like the previous one, but at least it will be in the mold of that. With players who knows experienced players who might not be the very best, but can do a job.
Exactly.
So that's because, for example, let's not forget about players like Yannick Carrasco and all that. So yeah, they've like Carrasco has never been the best player out there, but he is a player who would more than do a job. So yeah, I mean that's the kind of categories that likes of Memphis also fall into. So yeah, I think next season should be an interesting one for Atletico.
Yeah, man. Like, Carrasco is like supremely talented. Like he is probably the only one who makes things happen for Atletico, like out of the blue right now. Like the rest of the players, like they're probably like system players. They depend on the players outside of themselves to make things happen. But
Yeah.
Carrasco is someone who can just make things happen out of nothing. So yeah, I feel the same too. Like probably gonna have like a better season next year, and let's just hope like Barcelona, like God forbid, like even Atletico, they have good seasons in Europa. So just so that we can shut up these PL boys.
I mean, that's a long thing. Or the point is that whether you like it or not, eventually money talks.
Yeah,
That's the thing. Whether you like it or not, eventually money talks. So that's why you can see constantly the Premier League guys are there, here and there. But the thing about it is that, like, although money talks, sometimes also like heritage matters. The history matters as well. So which is something that at least we have that we can rely on. That teams like Barcelona and Athletic cannot, unfortunately. Well, yeah, man, it is what it is. Like, it's because I wouldn't be surprised this year to even see Sevilla win the Europa again. I mean, because one thing is that they also know how to play that competition, no matter how bad good their form is.
yeah,
So we wouldn't surprised to see that as well. But yeah, man, let's see how it goes.
yeah. And I guess before we get like head into like the Real Madrid lineups, I'd just like to like touch upon one quote by Morata. It is in regards to the racism that Vinicius has faced so far. So he just says like if anyone in the stadium, there should be a zero tolerance policy to any sort of racism. So as soon as you like utter a single racist chant, you should be put behind bars or even at least escorted out of the stadium. So yeah, like at least like even though like we Real Madrid fans consider Morata a rat or something like that, it still feels good that players are standing up for Vinicius finally instead of just riling him on.
Honestly, I'm still not impressed because the point is there are things that you should not. Uh, I mean, the thing is this. Honestly, like for me, I'm a huge fan of Klopp because I always feel like Klopp is the person that I can relate to personally. Like I feel like away from the other coaches, he's a person who is a human being. Do you
Yeah.
like? I don't know if you were aware, but someone asked him if Vinicius was was provoking this racist chance. You just need to see the reaction on Klopp's face, you know, because like, and his response was like, nothing can ever, 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 warrant such a thing. So the point is this, and I've said this over and over on our show that there is no room for racism. But if the same people are doing it over and over and over, and nothing is happening to them, then it means that okay, it means that okay, the people in you know, the organizers, the managers, the owners of the competition are fine with being racist then. You know?
Yeah.
After a certain point in time, then you start to generalize and say, okay, all the fans of Atletico are racist. All the fans of Real Madrid are racist. All the fans of Spain are racist. And you start to generalize that, okay, all Spanish people are racist. This is the thing. If this keeps happening and keeps happening and keeps happening, and no one is doing anything about it, no one is saying anything about it, then I'm sorry. Because the point is this, I want to believe that if a group of people are saying something, it's so audible that even the mics can catch up on this, then for sure the cameras can also figure this
Exactly.
matter out.
Yeah.
Why isn't anyone, why isn't anyone being, arrested or like given a match ban? Okay, you don't. I mean, I don't know if you heard this, but in Brazil, I think last week they brought up a new rule that says that any club who is found guilty or any group of fans who are found guilty of racism, the club gets points deducted.
Oh wow.
You hit the fans where it hurts the
That's a
most.
harsh punishment.
Sorry, I can hear you, man. I don't know why.
How is it fine now?
I still can't hear you.
Oh wow. Um, Let me handle something in the mic. You still can't hear me?
What just happened? What just happened?
No, like everything's fine on my end.
Yeah, now I can hear you. Now I can hear
Oh, good man. Yeah. Like you said, there needs to be harsh punishment to handle stuff like this. Otherwise, the people are just not gonna learn. They're just gonna continue stuff like this and
you.
inexcusable
Man, I'm
behavior, man.
sorry, but you're gone again.
I'm gone again.
You're gone actually. Can you speak
Um,
now?
yeah, I am speaking, but I do see my
Okay,
audio.
sorry. Yeah, yeah. Now I can hear you, man. I can hear you
Okay.
now.
Oh, I feel like it could be on your end as well because like I feel the connection is strong here. Oh, it's a earphones. Okay. Anyways, good point to stop there, I guess. So we are pretty much done with speaking about Atletico. While we're waiting for Farouk to get back, maybe we can yeah, uh, hold on to probably discuss the Real Madrid lineup. So if any, I just want to take this moment to say, if any of you guys are still in the chat, please do consider subscribing if you haven't already, because it really helps us to and gives us motivation going forward to continue putting out quality content like this. And well, yeah, like Farooq, are you like is your mic and earphone set up?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Oh,
fine, man. It's fine. It's all good.
oh, cool. So, should we head into the Real Madrid lineups then?
Definitely, sir. Why not? Let's do that.
Of course. So the big news is that Rodrigo is going to be missing for the El Derby. Aside from that, I feel like our attacking lineup should be pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward. I mean, we don't do pretty straightforward because like there's always a discussion between Asensio and Fede Valverde as well. But I think the return of Chouameni should you know should I mean, especially I don't know if that's gonna be especially, but I mean, given the fact that we had a very calm and composed performance from Edu Kamavinga in the game at Anfield, so I want to assume that he's gonna continue as a midfielder or as a left back. So yeah, I think if we're gonna start from the lineup, from the attacking lineup, you said right from the attacking side of the
Yep.
thing. So I'm gonna go, Vini, Benz, and Fede Valverde.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Uh, I mean, especially if you need coverage on the wings, it's an obvious thing to start Fede Valverde. And if Toni Kroos is back as well as Tchouaméni, we should obviously go for that lineup, I would say.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely, I totally agree with that because I think it's gonna be, I think Cruz might also get back in his 11 because he's played already at
Anfield, yeah.
Anfield as well, which shows that he's back to fitness. I assume that Cruz is gonna come into the pitch. So as you said, you need that extra cover and that extra energy of player like Fede Valverde.
Exactly. So I guess yeah, that's the attacking lineup there for you. Like it's probably going to be Fede Valverde, unless of course, and Ancelotti suddenly decides to start an attacking lineup of sorts with Asensio back in. But do you feel like like we always try to bash Asensio when he has a bad game, but do you think against a team like a low block like an Atletico, Asensio is going to be a valuable asset more so than Fede Valverde?
Actually, I think honestly, like this season, for me at least personally, like I've been more than satisfied with the contributions of Marco Asensio. Honestly, I wasn't expecting this much because I think if you remember in the summer, every time there was a news, I was always yes, let him go. When there's always a link, a rumor between him and someone. But honestly, this season, he has more than, in my opinion, done enough. But I just still feel like the situation becomes like some players are just undroppable, and Fede Valverde fortunately falls into that category. So a space has to be made in the team. So the thing is that we know that he's not gonna touch a player like Luka Modric or Toni Kroos when they're fully fit. So the only other option is to remove the winger and play Fede Valverde there.
Exactly.
So that's the thing, honestly. Like, but as you said, like we've always bashed Asensio, and I think also we're still bashing him for the things he has done last year and 2 years before. But I think for this season, like any level-headed person, if you objectively assess what's happened, you will literally see that Asensio has literally, obviously he's not playing at world class level, but he's done more than enough as a rotation player.
Exactly. Oh wait, Farooq, since I'm in the office, like there's someone asking me to like verify if I'm still gonna be here. Like I think I have to talk to him. Like, can you like handle like the midfield lineup until I come back?
Sure, sure. Okay,
Yeah,
just do your thing. Just do your thing.
I'll be back.
Okay, so okay, so we can see that Jacob even has his Real Madrid jacket at work. I think it's a bit blurry, but we can see the logo. Like it's so obvious. So that goes to show how much of a Madridista he is. But anyways, so going to the midfield, I think we kind of just touched up on that as well because as I said, like I assume that Toni Kroos is back and Tchouaméni is back. So I'm expecting, at least I hope that Camavinga starts in the midfield and one of Tchouaméni or Kroos plays, alongside Luka Modric. But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Carlo starts all three of them, which is Tchouaméni, Kroos, and Modric, and sends Camavinga back to the left back position, considering the fact that David Alaba is out. But on the other hand, as well, Nacho gave such a good performance against Liverpool. Well, it was a collective performance, honestly. But Nacho gave such a good performance against Mo Salah, so I think he should have done enough to retain the starting position, at the left back. But at least I would want to go, see Kroos or Tchouaméni, one of them, with Modric and Camavinga as my midfielders. I don't know what you guys will want that to look like, but it's looking interesting, honestly, because I personally want the experiment of playing Camavinga as a left back to just end. Honestly, like I've really loved his performances there, and I have also advocated for him to play in that position. But the point is, he's a young player, and we need him to develop that understanding of the position that he's going to be playing. But playing in midfield eventually. So I personally would want to see a midfield of Camavinga, Modric, and then either of Tchouaméni or Kroos, with the second of which whoever misses out coming up eventually in the second half. Yeah, man. So Jacob, you're back.
I am back.
I just ran through the midfield team. I don't know what you would think. I actually selected a midfield of Camavinga, Modric, and either of Tchouaméni or Kroos, with whoever misses out coming out in the second half of the game. So how do you see that, and what about the defense?
I would say like yeah, especially like obviously like those guys are show-ins, but for me, especially if Cruz is like totally fit, he should be back for the Atletico game, and because he's going to be so important for playing out from the back and for trying to break down that low block that Atletico are so we're obviously going to have. So I feel like Toni Kroos has to be more of a shoe-in than Luka Modric actually for this game.
I see. Well, that's something. Honestly, that's also something because because I think we have a game on Wednesday or Thursday against Barcelona. I think
I think it's Thursday. Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure, but yeah. So I think maybe because of that, you might wanna. I think that's a very valid point considering the age, and you might wanna rest the man to get recuperate and gain some energy. I totally get that, but yeah. I mean, it is what it is. We will see what eventually happens, but it's a semi-final against Barcelona. So, and I personally, as I've said, like I have lost hope in the league. So a cup double wouldn't be a bad thing. So we can fight for that. But anyways, what do you think about the defense? How do you see the defense panning out?
Okay, so we know for a fact that Alaba is out with injury. So is Mendy back for do you know?
Nah, Mendy is not back. I saw the stuff, the squad.
So we pretty much have like one sort of left back left in the squad, which is Nacho, and it's gonna be Rudiger and Militao, man, like plus Carvajal. Like I don't see any other way.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. But actually, I was just thinking before you came back that you know, Carlo could decide to play Camavinga as a left back as well. So, you know, always that. But I think, I just feel like Nacho, with his performance against Mo Salah and Liverpool has more than earned, that position for himself, in my opinion. At least he has earned a starting berth in this derby. I don't know if you share the opinion at all.
Well, yeah, like, that could work totally, man. But like, just the thing to remember is that Marcos Llorente is gonna probably start for Atletico, and he's a really fast and efficient player. And obviously, he's an ex-Real Madrid player, so he's gonna have that vendetta and X factor against us. So it's gonna be really crucial for whichever defender is gonna be playing on the left back position to have like a really good defensive and solid game. So maybe Kamavinga is in the right player for this sort of situation, but probably Nacho can do a really good job like he did against Salah.
I definitely I share your sentiment as well, but it's Carlo, and he's being paid the big bucks to make decisions, so we never can tell how it's gonna be. But yeah, man, I mean, I would be comfortable, much more comfortable with Nacho playing that role, and we've seen how it flows through. So I guess if Nacho plays, as a left back, so I guess we have no other choice but then to play Militao and Rudiger together, I guess.
Yeah.
And actually, and with Carvajal, so we just run off the back four. So that's that for the game. I think most likely. I most likely think that's gonna be the starting back four, barring flip from Carlo Ancelotti. But I think that should be the back four. And to complete the back five will be Thibaut Courtois. Looking to redeem himself after the mistake at Anfield. So hopefully, fingers crossed. Let's see if he can pull one or two rabbits out of the hat in this game and make super saves as what he does and get back to
Yeah.
his usual self. Yeah, man. I think with that we can come to the end of the lineups, and I guess we should just go to the predictions and tell how we think the game is gonna pan out.
Yeah, just a side note before we go to the predictions. For me, like I'm really glad that these sort of like mistakes come from big players in these sort of games that don't really matter because like in the end we managed to like win against Liverpool, and I'm just so happy that this didn't happen in a semi-final or a final against like a really big opponent. I'm not saying like Liverpool is a small opponent, but it's like this was a manageable game. And I'm just so glad that the mistake happened in this game.
I totally get what your sentiments are like. These are inconsequential mistakes, and I totally get what you mean by in a bigger game, in the sense that a game that has a lot to learn. Because as you said, like in a semi-final or in a final, this is going to be so catastrophic. But yeah, it's all for the good. And lucky for us, Allison decided that okay, like he cannot let Thibaut do his thing alone, so he has to join the party. Yeah, it is
Of
what it is,
course.
man. So it was a really good one.
Yep. All right. Well, just to predict, I'm just gonna predict 2-1 victory. No, maybe 2-1 is too safe. I mean, I'm a Real Madrid fan. Should probably go for 3-1.
I'm gonna go for a 1-0 victory in this one, because I think it's gonna be quite a tight game, and Atleti are gonna also, as it's a derby, so they're gonna bring their A game and all. I'm gonna go for a 1-0 victory. Hopefully, another Vini goal. Vini doing his thing, doing his magic, dancing around the pitch. So yeah, let's see how it goes. But I think it's gonna be quite a tight game, and one goal is just gonna be all that's gonna separate the two teams. So I hope the goal comes our way and we have a good game. Although I'm not looking forward to a good game, but I hope you have just I don't know, a teeny tiny bit of hope that something might happen. But yeah, let's see how it goes.
No, man. As we all, even though we are Real Madrid fans, and our priority is like to win every game. Like I just hope to, like for your sake, that we have a really entertaining game on our hands as well before we face off against Barcelona. All right.
Yeah, man. Honestly, I hope so as well. I hope so. Let's see how it goes, man. Interesting game.
Exactly. So with that, like if anyone who is still on our podcast still tuning in, if you haven't subscribed, do hit the subscribe button. Along with that, we are also active on social media. We have some excellent posts, so please do consider following us on our socials down there in the descriptions below. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank Real Madrid committee to because of having them being here the journey for all of us, and yeah, they have some really good content on them on social media as well on Instagram. So yeah, do give them a like and a follow. And with that, Farouk, you know what to say. Hala Madrid.
Great.